So a Heartful Learning Circle. Let me introduce you to the whole concept of this project that we have planned for you. A learning circle is in the idea we came up while we were instructed or we thought about as a team to inculcate a beautiful practice amongst all of youth to form a community. And we thought about we brainstormed and we thought what would bring all of us together to make all of our collective futures shine. The goal of it was working together. So we came together, we brainstormed and we thought that what is one method that helps us learn things and take things really help integrate into our being effortlessly. As a community, we want to grow. We want all of us to grow, the entire humanity to grow. But as we all know, change begins from within, individualistically, and then it spreads around and around and around. It manifests, it multiplies, and then it goes exponential. So we came together and we decided what would be best for all of us, and that's where the inception of a learning circle, a Heartful Learning Circle, came into being. And we thought about it, and we all knew that there was beauty within all of us. There was this innate sense wherein these few moments that we have, where we see beauty, that basically indicates that it's somewhere deeply embedded within. And our goal over here was to bring it from within and help it manifest in our behavior. That's where we came with the name Inside Out. I hope you really liked it. Coming back in a previous session, we wanted to understand ourselves. We wanted to start off with our own self. With majority of us as humans, we are inquisitive of how our own mind works. And when we thought about it, we wanted to start off with neuroscience, when how a single fiber of our brain works. And last session was conducted very beautifully by one of our guests, who was Mr. Praveen. And he basically told us how the chemistry of the brain works and how to take advantage of the beautiful muscle that we have with all of us. We are all gifted with this beautiful organ, and how we make the brain, and we capitalize and make the mind, we master the mind. So to attack that heads on, we took on neuroscience and how to understand habits, what creates these habits. So you might have received a beautiful, the first email, if you remember, it said, sow an act, it becomes a habit. So a habit, it becomes your character. So the character, it becomes the destiny. Thinking about that, we went ahead. We were charged up after the Youth 2.0 event. I'm sure majority of y'all were present. So here's where we are, and I'm so glad to have all of you over here. So the HLC, you might have, after yesterday, after the session last Saturday, we thought about how to bring to your laptop table the best way to actually inculcate what we're going to talk about today. You might have heard in the emails that we were going to be talking about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by one of the best-selling authors out there called Stephen Covey. And this guy has been instrumental in changing multiple lives with this book and successive books. And we totally love to give credit to him. So there we go. We're really grateful for this marvelous piece of literature. However, how would we make this brilliant book, that the content that's given in the book, into our lives? And that's where we have a study circle. And I hope we all could quickly go take a minute and bring in a paper or a diary and a pen so that we can learn from each other. So we consulted with some really established and research papers, well written research papers about education. And we realized that one of the best ways to inculcate these profound learning, to make these learnings more profound, is to have a peer-to-peer learning rather than a many-to-one. You might have noticed, I mean, what makes the HLC different from all other webinars? You might have asked yourself, and this is where we have thought about it, and we thought that by making it a peer-to-peer learning circle, we try to make it as interactive as possible. And I really hope that today you guys are going to take back something wonderful. We would also be sharing on a community page. That's the page on Facebook. We would be sharing the link at the end of this presentation as well, where we would be giving content. We would be giving worksheets, very simple, easy worksheets that ensures that you take today's group learning and we put it really into our practice. We make sure that we continue this learning over a period of 7 days and then make it 21 and then look at a beautiful destiny. And let's get together and design a wonderful destiny together. So today's habit is basically called be proactive. Now, we have with us a friend of ours, Annalise, who would be facilitating this discussion. Now, today's structure is in such a way that let's assume that we may not know everything about it. None of us are experts in these fields, and that's the beauty of peer-to-peer learning. We are there to learn from you and the entire circle. That's the beauty about a circle. There is no loose end. It's tied up in such a way that we all learn from each other. So I would love to see some comments. Repeated, like I would be checking the comment section over here, and anything that's on your mind, if you agree, if you disagree, I would love to hear it from you. We would also be having a lot of mentee sessions or interactive sessions. That's where your diary and your pen come in handy. What would happen is once a particular concept or an idea is being discussed, what we could do is we could reflect upon those ideas with ourselves. So we might take a minute or so and really go deep as possible, write it down. And if you want, I would be more than happy for you to share it on the comment section. If you like, let us know. We would also be more than happy to have mentees so that the whole community gets to benefit. All right, so I guess here I'd like to invite Annalise, who would be taking this discussion forward. Hi, Annalise.
Hello. Yes, I will take the discussion forward. I will start the presentation.
Yep.
Let's see. All right, I'm going to share my screen. I'm Annalise. I live in Stockholm. I'm neuroscientist and a heartfulness yoga practitioner. I teach also a little bit of yoga, and I'm going to try to help you guys understand the concept of proactivity and of reactivity, and to help you guys get insights into how we can all try to improve our proactive behavior and how to learn really practical skills which really will enable us to be more proactive and to have like more control over our lives instead of feeling very much victim of our circumstances. Perfect. So I think we can.
So yeah, now I'd like to have a quick mentee. We already are seeing responses. Brilliant. So what are some habits you want to inculcate in your life? That's a nice question. I see the most repeated answer is discipline. Hey, I'm one of your, I want to work on it myself. I'm really excited over here to learn, and I'm going to take notes. And when I go back, I'm going to try to follow the worksheet and ensure that today's learnings for being proactive helps me develop my discipline. Exercise, brilliant. Um, that's a result of discipline, brilliant. Meditation, self-confidence, that's such a beautiful thing to work upon. Focus, there, I'm with you, brother or sister. All right, then we have influence, we have exercising, we have perfectionist, that's lovely. We have consistency, again, a beautiful manifestation of discipline. We have obedience, interesting. These are lovely habits to learn. I'm loving reading this whole word cloud. We have empathy. You want, I mean, wow. Stay motivated. That's something so common amongst the youth of today. That's lovely. Healthy lifestyle, better lifestyle. Decision taking. Wow. Decision making, listening skills. That's, guys, this is so brilliant. So listening skills is one of the habit. We're going to cover this in one of the upcoming sessions. So HLC, again, it's a weekly program every Saturday. One of these days, we're going to speak about how listening can go such a far way. I really like that. Sleep cycle. Wow, brilliant. Okay. Scheduling, writing, joy, waking up early. Perfect. All right. So that's really lovely. We got 60 responses. Amazing. I'm going to quickly go ahead and share my screen, and we can take the session forward. Why are habits important for the right change? That's such an important thing that we would be discussing today. Habits, again, as we started off understanding how the neuroscience works and how neuroscience dictates how our brain basically understands habits. So this is something that we're going to see over a span of few weeks, and we'll be starting this right today, right now. All right. So once we were going through Stephen Covey's book on 7 habits of highly effective people, he mentioned one key point over here about how personality and character were very different things. I'd like to hear quickly in the chat section what you guys think would be the biggest difference between a personality, your understanding between personality and character. I'm gonna go ahead and read from the chat box right now. Please feel free to share your thoughts. All right. We have character is more like inner traits. Okay. Personality is what people see. Someone is saying that's Ravi Parekh. Ravi, that's such an interesting observation. Character is what we are. Interesting. Your personality may be good, but okay, that's interesting. Personality is inherent while character is molded by external influence. Character is what projects us. Okay. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So coming back, what we noticed was character personality. The last entire century, the entire world focused more about personality. And from my understanding of what Stephen Covey was trying to mention, personality is what, as one of you rightly mentioned, what we show to the world. So we might use different personalities at different instances, at different occasions. However, character is something that is inherent. or that, however, it is something that we can work upon. And that is exactly, guys, character formation or building is something that we are going to focus, because we have had plenty of personalities, like the best of the best. We know actors, celebrities, CEOs, management gurus talk a lot about personality, but personality can be used as for deception, can be used for good things as well, to impress people, to get things done. However, character is much more solid. It goes more with the principles of a person. So let's understand further more into the character part, because as Stephen Covey says, that this makes us inherently better humans as we go ahead. So over here, you can take a quick look, and this is our facilitator for the day. So she would be working with us. She would be helping us understanding proactiveness and the depths of it. Over to you, Annalise.
Okay. So somebody else is controlling the slides, right? Just a practical thing.
Yeah, that's just me. So you can let me know when you want to
Okay,
go ahead
super.
to the previous.
All right.
Yeah.
So the habit that we're going to talk about today is from becoming a proactive instead of reactive. And I think I saw in the reactions to which habits you want to change, somebody actually said being responsive instead of reactive. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today, because being proactive means responding instead of reacting. So you can imagine these reactivity is like when this monkey is very unhappy on the left because it's raining, and because it's raining he is sad, and that's why he's unhappy. Whilst when you're being proactive, maybe you think, okay, it's raining, but I can't do anything about it, but I can have this leaf over my head and have a smile on my face anyway, even though it is raining. And this is actually capturing the essence of the habit that we want to form. So yeah, maybe we can go to the next slide. Yes, so the book focuses very much on the circle of concern and the circle of influence. So our ability to change from being reactive to being proactive is depending completely on our ability to tell the difference between what we can influence and what we cannot influence. So our circle of concern basically means like everything that we are worried about and everything that we care about. Whereas, and that can be very many things. I mean, we all care about like our health, about our family, about the weather, about the climate, about work, all these things that we care about, but we cannot influence everything. The circle of influence is much smaller. I think it's on the next slide. Sean, can you go on, Akshay? Yes, thank you. Exactly. So the circle of influence is smaller than the circle of concern. So our aim is to learn which is the circle of influence. And even more importantly, if once we are changing our attitude from being reactive, being upset about the rain, to being proactive, being positive and happy and seeing the things that we can influence, the magic thing about that is actually going to increase our circle of influence. And we're going to see that hopefully during the rest of the session as well. So you can go to the next one. They made beautiful picture in the book as well. So if you have positive energy, like a proactive focus, it will increase your influence on the world. While if you're being reactive and being very negative, it's actually going to decrease your influence. And it's actually very simple, because I think everybody knows that or has some experience with when you had a bad situation and you reacted negatively to it. Maybe you shouted at somebody, you know, the people are not going to like that, and it will just have a bad effect. Yeah, maybe you can go on. Yes, you can try to observe this in yourself, what being reactive is. We have here some examples from phrases that are very common and that often like are repeating in our head, that are very reactive and therefore not at all helpful and not at all constructive. Like, for example, I'm just like that, you know, I'm determined, I can't do anything about it. It's just my biology, it's my brain, it's my hormone levels that are causing me to act like this. This is something I personally often think, like, oh, I can't help being grumpy, you know, it's because of my hormones. Somebody else annoys me, that's their fault. I can't do it, I don't have time. That's also a very reactive thought. Or I have to do it is also a very common one, because there is so much demand, you know, from everybody around us, from our parents, from the society, from our boss, from school, and we get easily the feeling that we have to do all these things, but maybe we forget exactly the classic blame game. Yes, we're forgetting that we actually are the ones who can make the choices. You can go on. Yes, so maybe we thought it would be nice if you guys write down for yourself phrases that you have used, just like the examples that we made before, that were very reactive. And why did you feel like that? You can write it down for yourself, and you can put it in the chat if you like to share your feelings. Can be anything.
So from the
Nobody
IT,
will be.
yeah, if you are unable to read what's written on the screen, we can have someone in the IT team change the font color, please. So what it says is, this is a reflection exercise. I'd like to walk you through what we are trying to do over here. So basically, the reflection activity is where we try. There is an instruction or a question where it says, for example, it says, note down for yourself phrases you might have used like this, like the ones you saw before. So we can take a couple of minutes and think about the phrases that we have, the negative phrases that we have used before. And once we are done with that, we can also look at what made us feel at that point in time for us to say these things to ourselves. So that is one of the first step that one should know or one should take towards being proactive. So this is the first exercise. So I believe we might have our pens and papers, so we can quickly pen them down, or maybe in a book or a diary as well.
Yeah, I think it's also so important to do this exercise because it increases your awareness. It's always the first step, the awareness of what's going on in yourself.
All right, once you are done writing it, one of y'all can mention in the chat when you're ready to move on, and we can go from there, yeah? All right, thank you, Hitanshu. Now that we are done with this bit, let's go move on. Yeah, Annalise?
Yes. Okay. So the next step in this process, now we've become a little bit more aware of what this reactivity is, and maybe also recognized very much in ourselves how true it is, all these reactive patterns. We can spend just a little bit of uh, time about where this actually comes from, like what makes us so reactive. And according to this book chapter, it is, and also to my experience, this reactivity comes from our idea of who we are, or who we think we are, and what we think we have control over. So a lot of our thoughts about ourselves and what we have to do, or what others have to do, are actually based on our idea of other people. What do other people think of me? And that makes me who I am. So if I think
भाई
that
सेशन
people
अटेंड
think
कर रही हूँ
that I'm like very smart or very stupid, I'm going to react.
नहीं मेरे को भी आया
Can everybody be muted? Ah, thanks. Okay. So our beliefs about ourselves are very often based on the beliefs of other people about us, and this is what's making us so much reactive. Yeah, can we go to the next slide? And this belief is so strong. I think I used to have this idea so strongly in my head that who I am is because of my biology, like my DNA, like what makes me anxious maybe by nature, my parents who have influenced me during my upbringing, and my environment. And the interaction between these three, I thought that's making who I am, and this is making me react in the way I'm reacting. So there's nothing I can do about it. Sorry, out of my hands. And I think this is an idea that's quite strongly rooted in ourselves, and that's really giving us the power to decide. We're giving it to the environment, and we're giving it to our biology instead of taking it for ourselves. So I think this is important to keep in mind. Like, we want to let that view behind us. So all these factors, they are there. Okay, we cannot deny that they are there. It's a fact. It's okay. We can accept it, but we want to move away from it. So we can go to the next slide. That's okay. Yeah, so you can actually wonder again for yourself, what are the things that are influencing you at this moment?
We can
yes,
quickly
I'm loving all the comments. I see them. It's really great thoughts. Absolutely.
The code is 5, wait, where is it? Yeah, 5853656. The question I would like to repeat: what are the things that are influencing who you are at the moment? My work,
Yes.
celebrities. Oh, I love this answer.
Yes.
Celebrities,
Amazing.
friends. Wow. I mean, we did not even think about it. Celebrities influence the way we think so much in such a subconscious way. I'm in love with that answer. Environment.
Yes. Yes.
Peer pressure. That's such a lovely answer. We don't even know half of the time. We catch on to so many lingos, so many words from just by with our peers, and it is interesting.
Social media. This is a big one.
Annalise, you're going to get a lot of study material. So Annalise is a researcher in one of the institutes in Stockholm, and I'm sure she's going to get so much information to speak with her colleagues. This is such an interesting bunch of answers.
Yes, this is amazing.
Parents, books, desires. I see one of the answers was desires.
Yes.
Desires do influence.
Absolutely.
At that moment.
It's a very big factor. Our own thoughts, I see in the comments. Yes, exactly. Instagram, yes.
I see one of the answers is movies. Love it. Internet. Oh, hang on. Mental health. Someone said mental health, guys. This is such a key answer. That is, wow. Okay. YouTubers, actually. Okay. All right. So we are getting some, we'll revisit these.
Daji is somebody writing.
So
Yes, yes.
we'll put this word cloud out on the FB page so that everyone in the community would get to, you know, they'd get to see what happened on this call today, on this study circle, and I'm sure many more will join coming weeks. Also, just you guys, please pass on the word that this amazing thing is going on. Bring your friends, your families, and let's spread the good word. Yeah, I'd like to share my screen now.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Coming back.
Very nice. Really, really great answers. Okay, we are. Did you skip over some?
Yeah, something. Yeah. All right.
Yes. Okay. So basically, all these beliefs are all the things that are influencing us. They are all there, like I just said before. But if we are too much believing in all these influences, we are going to get stuck in the same circle of causes and consequences the whole time. All right. So we can go to the next one. Think. Yes. Okay. These are just examples again, but I think we've seen enough of that, actually. All the destructive thoughts, like I don't know how to manage life. I have so much anxiety because of my biology. I don't think I can do all this. People should respect my personal space, right? This was a big thing for me. Like, you know, everybody should, you know, at least 2 meters distance the whole time. That's everybody else's problem, and people should stop ruining the planet. That's also a big one for me. Like, I'm doing everything okay, and everybody else should change their behavior, which is of course very untrue. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next slide because we want to get onto the positive side. Yes. Then we wonder. We have observed all of our thoughts and all of these feelings about everybody else should be doing something, and I'm influenced by this and this and that. Is this really necessary though? Is this really who we are? And is this how we want our lives to be? I think for me, at least at some point in my life, I really, really started to ask these questions because I was really fed up with this circle. It's very exhausting, and it's also like you make yourself so small, and you're victimizing yourself. So we don't want this anymore, right? We need to empower ourselves. Yeah. Can you go to the next one? Yes. Then the solution is partly given in the book, in the chapter actually, by I'm terribly sorry, I forgot his name.
Stephen Covey.
Yes. So he says, between stimulus and response, we have the freedom to choose. So whenever anything is happening or any thought comes up in your mind, the stimulus can also come from inside, right? Like a biological urge or something like that. Between the observation of the stimulus and your reaction to it, that you can create space so that instead of reacting straight away, we are instead responding to it. And this is the key of becoming proactive. So we give ourselves the time to observe and feel what and how we want to react. So we can go to next slide. I wanted to have like a positive image because I think it's so important to believe this. I mean, and from a research background, I have so much the tendency to overanalyze everything and think like, oh, but is this really possible? You know, can I change that? Is it like technically in the brain? Can you do that? And then, but yes, you can. I very much believe it, also from my own experience and what I've seen in others. Yes, you can. You don't have to be reactive anymore. It's of course a process. You know, we don't have to expect that we can do it all tomorrow. We can give ourselves a lot of time to learn this and be very kind with ourselves, but have this initial belief that it is actually possible.
So, Annalise, you had
Yeah.
mentioned the word process, and that reminds me of this beautiful concept from the book Atomic Habits. So, I was going through this really interesting concept where it said that once the goal is set, we often try to check where if we have reached the goal or not. But and in this process, the process, the word process is key over here. That gets overshadowed, and you know that becomes really overlooked. So if you can, you know, also help us look into how to ensure that we focus on the process of turning from reactive to proactive.
Yes, all right. So your question is really about the process of becoming proactive, right? Not about setting a goal and then focusing on the process, or?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think that will be the next steps that we're going to talk about how to become proactive and instead of reactive. And the key concept in this chapter is really responsibility. And this guy has really made me appreciate the word responsibility much more than I did before. I used to not like it so much because I was being very reactive. But now I understand, like, we have the ability to respond. That is a responsibility. And this is something that we can actually train. And I would like to give you some tips. Can we go to the next slide? If we are there already. Oh yes, yeah, because I live in Sweden and it's kind of cold here, at least in the winter. And people have a saying here: there is no bad weather, there is only bad clothing. And this is very much for me like illustrating the response ability. Instead of letting yourself be negative and depressed because of the weather, you put on your warm clothes, you put your winter tires on your bike, you put on your helmet, and you go on your bike anyway. Yes. And this responsibility, I will say it like this: responsibility, for me, it gives you the ability to make your choices based on the values that you have. And where these values come from, I think, I mean, we are doing this in a Heartfulness Learning Circle. I think the true values that we have are coming from our heart. So even if we give ourselves the ability to respond, it gives you this space in which you can listen to your heart. So you can have your decisions be guided by your heart. Or if you, I would like to give different options for whatever your system of beliefs is. You can have your responses based on the values that you have, that you hold dear, that you think is important, basically. Okay. Yes. So how are we going to give ourselves that space, the distance between the stimulus and the response, and to disentangle ourselves from this reactive circles? So we want to focus, like the rest of the session, on these practical issues. So yeah, we can go on. Yes, we need to practice in good weather. That's also something I wanted to say very much, because we can have very high expectations of ourselves that we're immediately going to be able to do this when we are in a tough situation. But we all know that that's not how it works, right? We need to practice when we're feeling good, then we increase our awareness. And then when a challenging situation comes, you will have the tools to be able to deal with it better. So it's always a process, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So someone very well mentioned on the chat box that says everything depends upon how our mind perceives it, right? The
Yes.
positive or negative way. That was such a nice observation from what you said about the weather. Like right now, it's like around 40 in some places in India. It's 40 degrees Celsius, and right now you and Swati would be thinking that, oh, I wish it were a little warmer over here. It's so much more colder in out there in Europe. But again, it's such a interesting point that we see over here itself. Oh my God. Okay,
Seven.
Randy says that it's 47 degrees over there. Oh,
I would find it too hot.
yeah, I already feel better. Thanks, Randy. That makes me feel really nice.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. It's really true. Like our perception determines so much of our experience. And then, yes, I would like to share this, what I have learned from my life so far. I mean, I'm not super old, but I have a little bit of experience. I know just so well how reactive I used to be. I was very depressed and I had anxiety, and yeah, I was just very unhappy about life until I kind of somehow implemented these principles also after starting to meditate, of course. Uh, so my key advice to you would be observe, accept, and question. Because everything starts with awareness. We become aware of our patterns, and this is where you can give yourself the space to change. So if you observe yourself reacting, that's an amazing first step. Like this, without this observance, without this awareness, there is not a possibility to change, or it's very difficult. So we observe ourselves and then we accept it. That's also very important. And I think accepting does not mean that you don't have to change anything. It just means that you accept the fact that you have these feelings right here and right now. So without this, if we resist what we are feeling, then it's very hard to change anything, because the resistance against anything is already a reaction. It's a reactive pattern. So really be just so kind to yourself always. I think it's very nice. So yes, so we observe, we accept, we love ourselves. We say, okay, it's okay. I have reacted like this now, and but now I'm aware of this. I can actually ask myself the question: was this necessary? Was this really necessary? And what do I want? And I can't read my slides because the box is in the way. Why am I doing this? Yes. And then when you have realized why you are doing something, you can set new intentions. Okay, what is the real reason I'm doing this? Because we do things because we are desiring a certain outcome. And when this outcome is, we want to change our behavior so that the decision is based on the value which will lead to the consequence, instead of, maybe I'm not being clear. Akshay, can you help me here?
Sure. No problem. So I would like to put things in a more example perspective. So let's think about it this way. I was in college back a few years back, and I did not clear a couple of subjects, and then there was another friend of mine, and we were in the same boat. So we now, in hindsight, now much wiser after learning to read this book and understanding it. Just kidding. But I thought about the perspective of what a reactive mindset would be and what a proactive mindset would be. Uh, what we read in the book was if two people did not clear a subject, one person would like, it was the teacher's fault, the teacher's teaching method was not up to the standard, or I didn't like this particular subject for this reason, and oh, you know what, it's not my thing, I'm going to not do this. So that would be more of a reactive mindset. However, a more proactive approach would be to take things, to take the responsibility, as you correctly mentioned a couple of minutes back, to take the responsibility, to feel responsible for what has happened and make right changes. First of all, you observed your mind pattern, the mental thought processes, then you accepted that maybe, just maybe, my approach to the process was not on point. And and then the final would be to question it. What would be the necessary steps? What was I really doing? What was I doing before that was wrong? And what should I change? For example, another example I'd like to take over here is, say there's a project that's going on. You are either a group project in a school or maybe a project in a company. And let's say the thing doesn't go the way, the results don't match to your bosses or the leads expectation, or a negative or a reactive thought process would be, oh, okay, this was this department's fault, or this individual did not perform their tasks up to the mark. However, a more proactive thought process, please correct me if I'm wrong over here, would be to accept what has happened and to note down or to brainstorm on how it could have been done better. And when the next situation presents itself, make amends. Am I getting there somewhere with this?
I think that was a very good example. Yes, thank you. Yes, and I also thought in the meantime about another example. It's a bit more personal, like also, you know, in relation with your parents, for example. I always had been very reactive to my mother, for example, because I was very annoyed by her. I thought, you know, why does she have to be so stupid? Why has to she also always have to be negative and nervous about everything? And I was always very much judging her for it, like really in a nasty way, like, oh, stop being so negative, you know, and stop being so nervous. It's annoying me. Until I actually emailed my yoga teacher back then about it, and she says, the one who has the most awareness of the patterns is the one who is responsible to change it. And this really clicked in me like that, like, because I thought, okay, I am now the one who is responsible for this. So I observed my behavior, and I noticed suddenly how judgmental I was towards my own mom, who was just really trying to do the best for me, like always. I accepted that. I said, okay, yes, I did this wrong. This is not very nice. But now I want to change my behavior. So instead of judging her and saying that she should stop being anxious and nervous about things, instead I started to say things like, can I maybe help you with the dishwashers? Do I need to go shopping? I noticed that you're being stressed. Can I do some cooking for you instead? And I offered her heartfulness meditation. She started actually as well. This is an example from my personal experience that I think has had a very big impact on myself in becoming much more proactive, also in relation to like people that are close to me.
Absolutely right. I mean, and come to think of it, even these mental patterns, Annalise, is, and you guys please feel free to add in on the comment section, is a habit. What I noticed was, whatever negative patterns that we might have, these are habits at the end of the day. If I target someone, like for example, if I have already judged someone and have thought about having have certain feelings for them, those are very, they follow a pattern, and that's what a habit is. Let's look at changing it real from here on. And
Yeah.
yeah, so this is a very interesting picture because it looks like someone, a small kid, is carrying the moon. Like, I mean, that snowball looks like it's so huge, but that's right. That's the first step. That's to say yes more often, to say that yes, I definitely can do it. And what you guys are going to have at the last is the same girl. You see in this picture, she's going to say something. I mean, there's a nice meme. If you guys are into memes, so there's a very interesting meme or a picture of this girl saying a very interesting line. So the idea is, most often than not, this change is a big snowball. And what I mean by snowball is, from afar, it looks like it's a rock. It's a white rock, which there's no way I'm going to be able to pick that up. That's not happening. How, until we start doing it, and that is the power of your mind. That's what we were discussing in the last session, that once inertia starts setting in, inertia is the uh, act of that momentum. When you pick that momentum, when you start changing one habit, you notice that changing every other habit becomes a piece of cake. Things start becoming very, very easy. So we are coming to the conclusion. We are going to now look at how do I as an individual from tomorrow, this is where the takeaway comes in, how I am going to look at these very big topics, and how do I bring that change into my own life and start seeing results from maybe tomorrow itself. So let's take a quick look into that. All right, so now we have a reflection activity. Let's take a minute or so to quickly think of a situation where we responded positively, where instead you might have otherwise reacted negatively. So uh, let's, close our eyes for a second and recollect a good moment when we had done this right, when we could have maybe been negative, but we were more positive to ourselves. Because when we are positive, we are much more kinder to ourselves. Is that right, Annalise?
Yes, exactly. And I think also this question is a little bit to help yourself realize that you actually are already able to do this, and probably many of you are already responding positively in some situations. So it's good to just take a moment for yourself and remember such a situation, so that you know for yourself, hi, yes, exactly, this is what it is, and this is how the habit that I want to increase in myself.
Yeah, Gagandeep, I read that. Tell me about it. We all have been in that shoe. Yeah, I totally get what he's saying. So maybe we can think about the way we took it, the way we took not that great news, maybe how we took a heartbreak. That is something most of us in our late teenage, maybe in our 20s, we experience these things. Some of us often, some of us once in a while. And the attitude to the way we approach these things then start forming these habits. That's what we would be focusing on. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Have you had enough time?
Yes, please. Let's move
Shall
on.
we
So
continue?
the questions will
Okay.
be available on the Facebook group as well, so that if you have missed it out, maybe you couldn't take notes, we would be having plenty of time later on. We would also be giving worksheets that would help inculcate these habits deep down within us. So yeah, let's take this forward.
Okay. So the book makes a nice statement. They say act or be acted upon, because when we are deciding, so we are now going to give ourselves a huge responsibility. If we are deciding to be reactive, then you will be acted upon, because the world just runs on like crazy, and everything is going to continue influencing you. So it's really up to yourself to make the decision to act for yourself, instead of letting everything act on you. So we have the power to choose, and sorry, yeah, to choose a positive response in a circumstance. So this is very much the point of this is really that even though a circumstance can be negative, you can give yourself the power to give a positive response. And I want maybe one example from myself, if that's okay. Like I was in quite recently in a situation where I almost crashed with a car into somebody else when I was on holiday. And then this person jumped out of the car. He had like all tattoos and 3 teeth, and he was really, really angry, and he ran at me and started shouting at me. And then I was like, okay, I felt like instantly connected, and I didn't react to him, but I responded and I said, okay, I understand you completely. And this guy completely changed his mindset. It was actually quite amazing. I
Are
mean,
you serious? Wow, that's almost unbelievable. If I mean, I would
yeah,
have freaked out.
I did too, and because I was really scared, and but then I just felt this inner connection, like suddenly that put me in my center and said, okay, don't react, don't react, don't react, and be like, okay, okay, I understand you, I understand you. Do you have any damage on your car? And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. I will have a look. And then yeah, he flipped around, and suddenly he started to ask me questions like, oh, maybe I can help you. Yeah, this was quite an amazing experience, but it was really scary. And I'm really thankful for,
Wow.
master's guidance there.
Wow, that's
But
really
I think,
interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, I can't believe it. Like a guy who's gonna smash your car, who could, like the Hulk, and
yeah,
then just that you were centered or you were collected within, and that changed the way other people responded. That is brilliant. I think we
yeah,
should reflect on this story. Yeah.
I think it's
So,
definitely the responsiveness. Yeah. Yes. Okay, we can go on.
all right. So over here we have another reflective interactive session. Again, if you are finding it difficult to read, I'm truly sorry. The color. All right. So the question is, do you remember a time when you experienced helplessness and you could not act on it? So if you can just think about it, you can write it down in your notebook or diary or make a mental note. Again, since we are running out of time, we would like to just have it in our minds and pen it down in our diaries. I would have loved to hear these things on the chat as well. We could do that. Please pen these down. If it's very personal, I would completely understand. You can have it with yourself as well on your diary. The second is on those lines. How would you have liked to act upon it in hindsight? Uh, as an afterthought, how would you have dealt with it differently now that we know about the power of being proactive? I mean, that is a very profound story, Annalise, that you shared. If a guy like the Hulk were really mad at me, I mean, the way you dealt with it is really interesting, and that bears to show that how being in that state of mind, not being reactive but proactive, kind of saved your life or saved you from really getting into trouble.
Yes. All right.
All right,
Yes.
let's
Shall
take
we move on?
let's talk about taking initiative. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other one thing that we want to talk about is taking initiative. So this is more focused on when there is a problem and you can either escape from it, not do anything, blame other people, but instead you take your action and do something about it yourself. So this is about increasing your circle of influence. Uh, I think everything that we talked about is about increasing the circle of influence, because it's really when we change this attitude of being proactive, the energy that we are emitting is so much more positive, and everybody, I think, around us appreciates that if you stop reacting to them. I feel that's also my experience. Like I feel when I'm reacting to people, to what they are saying, that's always like you get a negative interaction with the person. But instead, when you take this step back and you are responding to them, then they calm down, and it's much more nicer experience. So being a solution to the problem and not becoming the problem. And maybe I want to share like one example for myself from my work. So I think at work we often experience a lot of stress and pressure, and maybe a boss is very demanding, or they are not helpful. Like, I mean, I don't always get enough technical support for my job, I feel. And then I have been in a period where I was really reactive and was blaming my supervisors. Like, why are they not helping me? You know, I can't do this all by myself. Like, why is my boss so demanding or stressed? But really changing this mindset to being more proactive, I could actually start thinking of other solutions. Like, okay, my supervisor is extremely busy. My boss is also extremely busy. And actually, I can understand that. Okay, what's an alternative solution to this? I can ask help from other people. I can ask help from the internet. There are lots of forums. I can ask help from fellow PhD students. And if I really feel that it is becoming a problem, I can actually um, talk with my boss and my supervisor. I have actually done that at some point. I said, okay, I really feel at this moment that I'm not getting enough support to do my work properly. Can we do something about this? And actually, my boss was very positive about this. She's a very nice person. I'm very lucky. And I think that's one example, and that really increased also like the atmosphere of work at work in a very positive way. Yeah, can we go
All right.
on? Maybe
Yeah.
do we have a
So,
reflection on this?
one second. So we have a couple of questions, and these are very pressing and important questions from the viewers. Uh, right. So the question says, the human mind doesn't think to be proactive. And when something happens, all of a sudden, we simply react. How do we inculcate this habit? Now, I completely understand and I'm with the question over here, because humans are, as a neuroscientist or student, you would know that the flight or fright mechanism that we all go through. Um, and to so to say, the natural way to go would be to react. So the question herein lies: how does one proactively turn proactive, right? That is the catch 22 over here. So can you
Yes.
please help us inculcate this habit?
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. It's very difficult. If I may go into the brains anyway, it's absolutely true, the fight or flight response. It's very strong drive, and but it's the lower brain regions, right? The limbic system that becomes hypersensitive. But we need to maybe believe that we can change that. So our brains, if we put it very simply, in the prefrontal cortex on the top and the limbic system in the center, So the stress response is super important for our survival, really. We should not think we have to get rid of it. It's an alerting system, but there is a very strong connection between this system and our prefrontal cortex that enables us to respond. So I was saying, so you can increase the control of the prefrontal cortex
Yeah,
over
so
these
the internet
lower
cut out,
regions.
so I guess, yeah.
So this is what we are trying to do with being proactive. And the best way to train this is when we are not in a stressed situation. This is what I mean by training in good weather. So when we are immersed in this stressful situation, there is maybe not so much that we can do unless you're lucky enough to realize it. But when we are training, when we are not stressed, this is when we are enhancing the control of the prefrontal cortex. And this is when we are changing the habits. And these new connections, they will be there also when you are in a stressful situation.
That's really
So you
interesting.
can change.
The next question is, how do I analyze?
What is the question?
I guess my internet is fluctuating. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the next question is, how do you analyze your reactiveness? That's the next question.
How do you analyze your
And
reactions? Yeah,
so the question, the next, yeah,
I can't hear you.
all right. So the following question that comes along with it, if you could answer both of these together, is don't you think sometimes there are more cons than pros for not reacting to anything?
Yes. That's an interesting one because I feel that it we don't have to not react. Can I say it like that? I think that's a little bit of a misunderstanding to some extent because we don't become like zombies or anything that don't feel anything anymore. It's just that we become more aware of our reactions. I mean, we need our reactions because we live in the world, we react in the world. You know, it's a system that's part of life. We just want to give ourselves a tool to be able to better deal with this. So I don't think that we need to stop reacting. We just we have an emotional response or reaction to a situation, but the way we deal with it behaviorally, that can be very different. And this is where we want to empower ourselves, I think. Because I
Okay.
mean, it's right. If you are in a situation that requires that you run away because I don't know, your house is on fire or a bear is chasing you or something like that, you know, you don't want to be like, I'm going to respond to this bear now, or you know, you have to be alert. So these are survival functions that we don't have to get rid of. um, so yeah, we can have our reactions and our emotional reactions, but we don't have to be enslaved by them. I think that's a bit the difference. We
I
don't have
think
to let it take us over. That's a very big difference.
absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
hope that was
So
clear.
the next question is observing more important or acceptance? Over here, I'd like to give my thoughts, two cents of my thoughts, that observing and acceptance are more like steps of the process. So it's not more of the degree of importance, but it's more like the steps to reach a goal. So if I have to go to the railway station, uh, it's I mean it's more about the sequence of the directions that I have to take, but it's rather than the importance of those directions. So that's my understanding of the question. And the final question, okay, one of the question is, what degree can someone be practically accepting considering the trends today? That's a very pertinent question.
Can you
repeat.
repeat it once more?
Sure. To what degree can someone be practically accepting, considering the trends today, the times that we are in?
Yeah. It depends a bit what you mean with accepting. You mean that you accepting in the sense that you accept that it is there and not want to do anything about it? Is that the question?
From what I understand, the answer to this question is, let's from the Indian context, let's look at a cricket match. Let's say we know Mahendra Singh Dhoni. This guy, whatever the challenge that's thrown at him, he is. I mean, okay. So just to put perspective to Annalise over here, that he is the captain of the Indian cricket team, and he's called Captain Cool. So basically, he does not always react, but he's one of the most proactive sports people, and that's why he's very famous around the world. So my understanding over here is, irrespective of the times we are in, these habits actually at the end of the day, they help us achieve whatever goal that we choose to ourselves. So it's more like a recipe to bake a cake, right? Or steps to, more like thought steps, or steps for the brain to remember. So once we have it as a part of our character, irrespective of the situation that is thrown upon us, these end up to be much better than the outcome that would come out when we are reactive. For example, if there is a sledging, so let's say if Mahendra Singh Dhoni or the cricket captain is batting, and the wicket keeper is sledging behind him, he's abusing, he's saying negative things. Now the reactive thing would be to maybe take objection to it, but the proactive thing would be to uh, hit the ball out of the park on the next ball. So irrespective of the situation over here, uh, being proactive most often than not brings out the best results, is what I think. This might be a very funny example, but I guess that drives the point. So I guess, Annalise, would you like to make some final points? I would like to share my screen and bring back one of the
Yes.
reflective.
Well, I just wanted to add with regarding with acceptance. I think acceptance is, I mean, I'm a big fan of Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you know him. He talks a lot about acceptance, and it's acceptance is always about the present moment. So you accept the situation as it is. It doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything about it if it's wrong. So that's what I wanted to add. Okay, so we have one more reflection, which is the homework, I think, isn't this?
Yeah, we can do that. We can just have the participants take notes of this. Maybe you can take a screenshot if you'd like, or you can just note it down, and you can talk to your diary about it. Your diary is often our best friend. You can also talk to your friends, and if you'd like to open up to them, that would be great. So since we are running out of time, guys, I completely understand. We have had a lot to digest over here, a lot to gather. So I hope we really learned a lot. So what we would be doing next is we would be having a relaxation session, so that the take backs that we have, the takeaways that we have are really deeply entrenched into our minds, and we start following them as habits from tomorrow. So the request over here would be to consciously make it a habit to reflect upon these questions that have been put forward, speak with your diary, maybe spend some time in a reflective mood after today's session. And we would be taking forward to the next 6 topics or habits, and we would be analyzing and having similar sessions. So now that the sessions are already over, we can have a quick relaxation session. My friend Meghna would be able to help us relax, and then we can end the session for today. Hi, Meghna.
Hi, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Before we move on to the relaxation and meditation, there was just one point that came to my mind that I wanted to share. Would that be all right? Akshay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead anyway since I can't hear anything. All right. So when you were talking about the flight and fight syndrome that we have as people, I think the way to kind of take a break from it is actually by literally taking a pause. If you're in a situation that is overwhelming you and you are not able to think clearly on how you would want to actually respond to that, it's always better to just take a moment and take a pause to calm yourself down. Sometimes it's depending on the situation, it's okay if you just take 3 deep breaths. That helps. And sometimes it's so overwhelming that those 3 breaths don't do it, don't cut it. So tell the other person, if you're in a heated conversation, tell them, I need a minute, give me a minute. Then take yourself out of the situation, and you can take a deep breath or try to calm yourself down, get your attention to your heart. You can even do the relaxation process that we would be doing right now by yourself. That would calm your nerves down, and you would be thinking clearly at that point, and you can choose then how you would want to respond to that person. And this would be an active choice that you're making. That way, you at a later point, when you look at it in the hindsight, you know that it's a conscious decision that you made to act in a certain way and not just reacting impulsively. Okay, I hope that helps. So all those people who do not know how the relaxation and meditation process does take place, I would briefly explain to you how it would happen. I would be guiding you through the relaxation process and the meditation process, during which I would ask you to take your attention through each part of your body and ask you to relax each part of it. By focusing your attention on that particular body part, you would be suggesting that you are relaxing it would actually relax yourself. So this way we would be relaxing your entire body and then rest in your heart at the end. After that, I would ask you to give a supposition that there is a divine light in your heart. What I mean by supposition is that believing that it is already there and bringing your attention to it. That is what I mean by supposition. So this would be a 15 to 20 minute process. I would ask you all to sit in a comfortable position, whichever it is, it's okay, because it would be preferred if you remain in this position a little throughout the meditation session. Okay, so let's get to the relaxation bit. Everyone please sit in a comfortable position and close your eyes. We will begin with the toes. Wiggle your toes and feel them relax. Now relax your ankles and feet. Feel the energy from the earth move up your feet. Feel it move through your feet to your knees, relaxing your legs. Now move your attention to your thighs. Feel them relax as the energy moves through your thighs and reaches your hips. Deeply relax your hips. Feel the energy move up your stomach and waist and chest. Feel it relax your entire back. From the top to the bottom, the entire back is relaxed. Now relax your shoulders. Feel your shoulders simply melt away. Now feel your energy move through your shoulders to your arms, relaxing them. Relax your upper arms. Relax each muscle in your forearm, your hands, right up to your fingertips. Feel this energy flowing out of your fingertips. Now bring your attention to your neck and relax them. Now move your awareness up to your face. Relax your jaw, mouth, nose, eyes, earlobes, forehead, and all the facial muscles. Feel how your whole body is now completely relaxed. From the top of your head to your toes. Now slowly turn your attention inward and take a moment to observe yourself. Now move your attention to your heart. Gently make a supposition that there is divine life in your heart. Feel the light attract you from within. Do this in a gentle and a natural way. There is no need to concentrate. If you find your awareness drift to other thoughts, gently bring back your attention to the idea of light in your heart. Feel yourself melting into this awareness. You might relax into a deeper state beyond awareness. That's okay. Stay in this meditative state until you hear me say, that's all. take a note of how you're feeling. And then gently open your eyes. After observing your condition and taking a note, if you feel like sharing, please do put your notes in the group.
Thank you, Meghna. Thank you so much. That was a really nice experience. I hope you all liked today's session. So bringing us to the concluding slides, you can just read it and think about it. This is a Maori proverb. Turn your face to the sun and the shadows fall behind you. Let's think about how this would work in the attempt to being more and more proactive. And this was the little nugget I was talking about, the girl holding the snowball, whose attitude is so positive. She says, I had never tried that before, so I think I should definitely be able to do that.
Quote, where there is a will, there is a way, is a very simple quote, but it actually has so much meaning to it.
Absolutely.
It might sound difficult at this point to actually turn yourself proactive, but it is actually in your hands. You have to make a conscious decision to be proactive at every single step of your life. That's how it becomes a habit.
Absolutely. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody. Thank you so much.
Meditation helps reinforce this will that you have within.
Absolutely. So taking these lessons and thoughts, and let's reflect on them.
I hope this will help.
We'll post the questions, reflective questions on this Facebook group. Please join this so that we can develop as a study circle, as a community. And please tell your friends, bring your family and friends to the calls, to these sessions next time.